This is my top 10 most anticipated games of 2012. Number 10, Rodia The Sky Soldier. Am I the only one who thinks this looks like the spiritual successor to Nights into Dreams? After all, it is being made by Yuji Naka, only the creator of Nights into Dreams. Now, listen, I had nothing against Journey into Dreams, well, other than the parts with the kids, those are boring, but when you were flying around as Knights, that was pretty fun. However, it didn't really feel like a worthy sequel to Knights, it just felt like kind of an expansion to Knights. Rodia looks like a big improvement over Knights' Journey of Dreams. Looks like you may have more freedom of how you move in flight, in three-dimensional space. Also, there seem to be cutscenes with the characters. Since it was all in Japanese, I have no idea what they're saying, but I always love more story, as long as it's nothing like the Journey of Dreams cinematics. It also has a few things that Knights doesn't have. Like, it looks like your character has a gun so you can shoot at things. That's awesome. Imagine being able to fly around these really interesting settings shooting at stuff. Not that I'm saying Knights needed guns, but distance attacks are always welcome in any action game as far as I'm concerned. Also, they show this gigantic Colossus boss, and it looks like you can fly around it and attack. That's so cool. Imagine if in Shadow of the Colossus you could do this. But yeah, Rodia Sky Soldier. That looks like an interesting game. Well done, Yuji Naka. Now bring it to the States. Number 9, Code of Princess. Ah yes, another 3DS game that we may not get here in America. Code of Princess looks like the spiritual successor of Guardian Heroes. Wait, why are we getting so many spiritual successors to Sega Saturn games lately? This is really getting weird. But what blows me away about this game is the fact it's 4-player co-op online in the main story, which not even Guardian Heroes on Xbox Live got right. And also, your characters level up just like in Guardian Heroes. Considering their sprites, the game looks fantastic, and I'm sure the stereoscopic 3D will add an interesting effect to it. Yeah, I'm excited for it, but I don't have much to say about it. Next game. Number 8, One Piece Pirate Warriors. Wow, I've never seen a One Piece game on any of my anticipated lists before. This is pretty interesting. Okay, let's just get one thing straight right away. This is Dynasty Warriors with One Piece characters. That's pretty much all it is. I know this, but why is it that I can't stop myself from getting excited about it? I love One Piece. It's one of my favorite anime of all time, and just to be able to see these characters in such impressive PS3 graphics and taking on so many enemies at once in gameplay is really amazing. Oh, also, 2-player co-op. Well, I'm assuming it's 2-player co-op. All I know is there's multiplayer involved. But yeah, I get to play as my favorite Straw Hats in a Dynasty Warriors-like game? That fits the series so perfectly. Heck, they even added some interesting area traversal elements for Luffy and his rubber powers. Also, it looks like they go through a lot of arc. I mean, we're talking all the way up to the Rescue Ace arc. That's a lot of storylines going on there. I'm impressed. There are so many One Piece games I skipped out on, well, mostly because they never came out here, but also because I just knew there was going to be another One Piece game coming up in the future that is just going to cover more. Of course, they were mostly fighting games. This is different, however. There's no guarantee there's going to be a sequel, but listen to me, I'm rambling, I'm a One Piece fan. It's One Piece Dynasty Warriors, and it makes my list easily. Number 7, Sonic 4 Episode 2. You know, Sonic 4 Episode 1 never made my list, any of them, for good reason. It was an okay game, but it just wasn't that great. It was fun, it just had a few physics problems, and, well, when you got right down to it, the levels felt like they were ripped right out of Sonic 2 and 1, as did some of the bosses. But I guess that was the point. Sonic 4 Episode 2 looks different. For one, they say they're revamping the physics to make it more like how Sonic usually is, which is good, but also Tails is in it. Take a good look at my YouTube name. Do you see the name of a certain two-tailed fox in it? That's because I'm a big Tails fan. No, seriously. I'm so happy to see Tails back as a playable character. For so many games, he's been turned into this stupid merchant or, hey Sonic, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to give you information and be a store owner or something. I'm just glad he's back as a playable character. Also, there's 2-player co-op, which is both online and offline. And I hear the screen actually gets bigger when the characters get further apart. This could be the best 2-player co-op Sonic ever. Oh, and that's not all. Metal Sonic is back, which, you know what? Metal Sonic is cool. I'm not exactly like, oh my gosh, it's Metal Sonic, but his presence is welcome. I'll give him that much. Also, the areas look a lot more interesting this time. Sure, they got the snow area and the stuff, and we've already already seen snow areas in Sonic games before, but it doesn't look like they directly ripped off some of the past Sonic game levels, and that's a good thing. Also, it looks like Tails and Sonic have an interesting team attack they can do. So yeah, Sonic 4 Episode 2, much more promising than Sonic 4 Episode 1. Number 6, Dragon's Crown, Vanillaware. Need I say more? The creators of Odin Sphere and Muramasa the Demon Blade. Muramasa actually made a previous list. If Rayman Origins looks like you're playing a cartoon, then Vanillaware's games honestly make it seem like you're playing a beautiful Japanese painting. No other developer can draw beautifully crafted characters in the same way they can. Dragon's Crown will be available on the PS3 and PlayStation Vita, and there's actually going to be a cross-game multiplayer feature. This is actually the second beat-em-up game that's made my list. I don't know much about Dragon's Crown, but from what I've heard, I would kind of compare it to Guardian Heroes, which, of course, I already compared Code of Princess to. Come to think of it, does this mean that Dragon's Crown is to Vita what Code Princess is to the 3DS? Oh well, the more beat-em-ups the better. There'll actually be 6 different classes to choose from in Dragon's Crown, and up to 4 people can team up in online co-op. If you haven't guessed by how much I've mentioned co-op, I love co-op. In my opinion, competitive multiplayer in video games are overrated. I love playing with my friends. I love going on video game adventures with my friends, and games like Code of Princess and Dragon's Crown allow me to do it. God bless you, Dragon's Crown. Number 5, BioShock Infinite. Now, I played the original BioShock, and although I found the atmosphere in Rapture to be rather interesting, I was not in the mood to go to it again in BioShock 2. When I choose my games, I like them to be bright and colorful, or at the very least, colorful. And it looks like BioShock Infinite certainly has that down. You see, in this game, you explore the flying city of Columbia, which was actually created by the United States, not some dreamer like Andrew Ryan. However, the city eventually stops being under the control of the United States government, and civil war breaks out in it. You play the role of Booker DeWitt. Booker? Like that character from Animal Crossing? Anyway, you play the character of Booker, and you end up on Columbia, where you have to save a mysterious girl who has the strange powers to warp time. I am liking what I see from BioShock Infinite so far, because it seems to have a lot of big differences from the original BioShock. For one, zip lines. Who doesn't love zip lines? Who doesn't love shooting at stuff from zip lines? Whereas BioShock, you were exploring an area that had already been devastated by tragedy. In Infinite, Columbia is actually in the process of being destroyed by civil war while you're there. I feel this is an interesting change from the original BioShock. I don't know much about the new powers, but I do know there's one that allows you to control animals. Like you can call a flock of crows to defeat your enemies. Oh, also, your main character actually talks in this one. Now, if I'm given the choice between silent protagonist and speaking protagonist, well, that depends. Is the voice acting good? If it's good, like in Uncharted, then yes, I would prefer a voice performance. And so far, from what I've heard, the voice acting is really good in this game. I know, voice acting good in a BioShock game. Surprising, right? BioShock Infinite looks like it's going to be a very interesting game, story-wise alone. And gameplay-wise, it looks pretty good too. Number 4, Prototype 2. Oh, heck yeah, I am so ready for Prototype 2. I love the original Prototype. Okay, now I'm going to admit it had problems, like the city looked kind of ugly, the people looked kind of not well made, and they all acted the same. But really, that wasn't the heart of Prototype. The heart of Prototype was you have superpowers, do whatever you want in this city, and that was awesome. I just love being able to run up the side of buildings and jump from building to building and like throw tanks. Well, I'm not sure if you could throw tanks, but as Penny Arcade said, you can kick a helicopter. And that's pretty awesome. This time you're actually not playing as Alex Mercer, but James Heller, a military officer whose family was killed thanks to Alex Mercer, and after which, Alex actually infected Heller with the virus. So now Heller has all kinds of crazy powers just like Alex. The main goal of the game seems to be for Heller to get revenge on Alex, which is fine by me because even though I enjoyed the original Prototype, Alex Mercer was not a very likable character at all. So it'll be fun to kick his butt. I've been looking through all the gameplay and improvements they have in this game, and it seems like everything they're doing is just going to make it so much better than Prototype 1. For example, when you transform into a military officer, citizens around you will look at you kinda differently. So right there, you already know they're putting more effort into making the NPCs act better. Also, I've heard about all the crazy powers and abilities you get, like being able to rip the cannon off a tank and use it. I have no idea how that works, but screw it, it's awesome! Also, apparently you can use your tendrils more freely, which is pretty cool. I like the tendrils in the original Prototype, but it didn't feel like you could do much with them. The game is also going to be more streamlined, as you no longer have to go to specific NPCs to get missions like in the original Prototype. Heller can just choose his missions from a menu, which is awesome, because what if you're at one side of town and you're ready to move on with the story, but you have to go to the other side of town to get to the NPC to choose the mission? This is going to be much easier, much better. You no longer have to buy your abilities in a store. You'll be given your abilities for completing missions, which I think works a lot better. My main complaint in the original Prototype was that your abilities were kind of ineffective against the big, stronger enemies. So you had a lot of cool abilities, like you could surf on someone's body on the pavement, but that didn't really help against the big, muscular guys. And with that, you kind of felt powerless. But with the ability to rip tank cannons off, I think that might just be solved. Prototype was a really fun game, but hopefully Prototype 2 is going to be something amazing. Number 3, Kid Icarus Uprising. At last we come to it, the game that pretty much forced me to make this list because it's coming out the day after tomorrow. Unlike all the other games on my list, the reviews are in, and Kid Icarus Uprising is receiving scores all over the chart. Mostly people are saying it's a great game, but the controls have issues. But let's talk about what we've seen in the trailers. First of all, the game seems to be divided into several segments for each level. The flying segment, which is kind of like Star Fox on rails, the on-ground segment, which is like a third-person action game, and the boss. And I think that's how the game flows through the entire thing. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty much how a lot of action games work, actually. So, Pit is back after the Game Boy. Wow, that was a long time ago. But yeah, the game is being directed by Masahiro Sakurai. You know, the Smash Brothers guy. And let me tell you, it shows. I can totally see a lot of how going on in this game. You know, lots of modes, lots of unlockables. At first I thought I knew everything there was to know about this game. Oh, you pit, you fly around, you shoot, use your bow, and you use your swords. But that's just a small amount of the weapons you get in this game. There's like 8 classes of weapons, and they can be combined, and you can find rare weapons and get weapons from winning them in multiplayer. Oh yeah, there's 6-player multiplayer with like 2 different modes. And that looks pretty fun. I'm definitely going to be playing that a lot when I get that game. There's even an AR card battle game. It also has Street Pass and Spot Pass. Man, what 3DS feature doesn't this game have? At any rate, I can't wait to pick it up the day after tomorrow. Number 2, The Last of Us. Okay, now this one is a long shot because it may be released in 2013 or late 2012. We're not sure, but I feel I should put it on here because I'm really excited about it. This is the first time Naughty Dog has created a new IP in the same generation as their other IP. That's pretty interesting. In this game, you play in a post-apocalyptic environment. Yeah, I know. We've gotten a lot of those lately. But you play as Ellie and Joel. Wow, there are a lot of Ellies in video games lately. I guess Joel is kind of taking on a parental role and trying to protect Ellie, though Ellie seems to know well enough what she's doing. We haven't really seen any gameplay of this game, just a teaser trailer that shows weird mushroom men. One thing that does have me excited is that one of the lead designers of Enslaved: Odyssey of the West is actually working on this game. I loved Enslaved. I didn't get a chance to play Enslaved when it came out. If I did, it would have ended up on one of my top 10 lists. But yeah, now you know I love Enslaved, so I'm really looking forward to this game. Supposedly it combines action and survival, so kind of Uncharted, but with more scavenging maybe? I don't know. But either way, I'm really looking forward to this game, and here's hoping it comes out in 2012, or 13 if it needs more development time. We do not want a rush game. And the number 1 game I'm looking forward to most in 2012 is Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. Okay, if you saw one of my previous anticipated lists, you already know that I love Kingdom Hearts games. It's one of my favorite franchises, even if the story has become convoluted and kind of weird. But that's not what I love Kingdom Hearts for. I love it because because of its characters, kind of, but mostly because of its combat. Even though the combat systems are constantly being remade in each of the portable entries, for the most part they've done a pretty good job in each of the games. I like how your combat abilities actually level up as you use them in Birth by Sleep, and you can actually combine them to make new abilities. I'm not exactly sure how character growth works in Dream Drop Distance, but I do know I like what I see so far. Like, they seem to make it a lot more fun to get around the area. Sora can spin around poles and fly all over the area. Also, they've replaced your companions with actual monsters. Yeah, they added an element of Pokemon to Kingdom Hearts, which is fine by me, I guess. At any rate, the worlds I've seen so far look pretty good. Tron Legacy, while not being one of my favorite movies of all time, is, you know, it's an interesting area for Sora to be in. Not so sure about the Three Musketeers area, but the Notre Dame world looks pretty awesome, actually. My favorite scene in that movie was when Quasimodo grabs a rope and swings down to save Esmeralda. Also, you switch between Sora and Riku throughout the game, so that should keep it pretty fresh, I would think. Not to mention the wonderful The World Ends With You cameos. Man, I love that game. One of my favorite DS games of all time. Well, that's what I'm looking forward to this year. See you in my next video.